Jake Anderson is in the house. You know, when he was younger, Jake thought that he would become a famous pro skateboarder. Instead, his route to fame came by way of the Bering Sea. You see, Jake, raised in Anacortes, signed on as a deckhand for a guy named Sig on the FV Northwestern. Does fishing vessel, is that what that stands for? FV?
Yep.
Okay, I figured that all out by myself.
Good job, Bob.
And once he signed on with Sig, of course, he became a fixture on the very popular reality show, The Deadliest Catch, which is huge. It's like of its kind of a workplace kind of career cable series. It's the one that started them all.
Yeah,
I think it's what Sopranos is to cable drama, and Sig we have met and know.
Sig's boat's a dry county. If I'm no,
Sig
that's
boat is
wrong.
not
That's
dry.
Not dry.
I'm pretty sure
my
it's not
mistake.
dry.
I know Sig, and it's not right.
The Deadliest Catch is in its 10th season, and you can see it Tuesday evenings at 9 o'clock. Jake has just released his memoir called Relapse, which I also figured out might be about relapsing or kicking drugs, and it turns out that you had some addiction and redemption to write about in there as well, so we'll talk about that. By the way, in less than a month, your book has become a bestseller. Congratulations.
Thank you, yeah.
All right, Jake Anderson of The Deadliest Catch, welcome to the Bob Rivers Show.
Thanks, it's good to be here.
All right. Now, are you now that the book is out, are you off promoting it around the world, or are we just lucky that you're close to Seattle already?
Well, thank God that I'm close to Seattle, but the issue I ran into is I wrote the book in December, right before we went and did Opie fishing. So I was in the process of fishing on the boat, and then they do an hour wheel watch at night, and I would have to review what the book was writing. I would get emails from the publisher. He would email it to me back, and I would read it. So
you finished the book before you started off, and then you began the editing process
while
working on the boat.
So I had 3 jobs. I had to maintain the deck.
Wow.
And then I had my obligations to the cameraman.
Right.
And then
now, did they shoot you working on the book at night by the wheel, or was that kept off the show?
No, yeah, that was all my own.
Because that's
thing,
not really dramatic.
No, that's not
supposed to be
dramatic.
watching where the
getting
boat's
your
going.
notes via internet satellite.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking to your publisher.
Wheels
No.
just flopping back and
You don't want to
forth.
show that.
It's hard to work in enough swearing while you're doing that to make for a
Deadly
good television
paragraph
drama.
revision is ahead.
So it's been really hard to promote it because then the boat landed in Ballard and
When did you get here?
March 8th, and then
Okay.
March 11th, Edgar and I have been working on the boat every day. So my publicist has been trying to line all this stuff up to promote it, but I have obligations
in
to the
spite
boat.
of your other obligations, it's a bestseller. What define bestseller? New York Times bestseller list?
I'm
Or
not
just
sure.
happy? We're very happy.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm very happy. Yeah, because I didn't even think it was going to even sell. I wrote it because it was. It seemed like a fun thing to do.
A personal redemption thing.
And I wanted to maybe help
share,
somebody that was in need. Just one person. That was the goal. Maybe help one person to let them know that, hey, going through drug addiction and having a disease like that doesn't stop you from doing anything.
That's
you just
awesome.
have to want it, or want what you want out of life, and then just go out and get it.
And I feel that way too. I had my last drink in 1989.
Really?
And I mention it once in a while, and if it makes someone enthused that someone can do it, that's good.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of the book was just, hey, man, I did it. I mean, anybody can do it.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what leads up to this, though. You grew up in Anacortes. Anacortes, a very tough town, lots of gangs.
Yeah.
Seriously.
In the hood, on the streets.
so
I can see
funny,
why you
yeah.
would turn to drugs.
Yeah.
No, Anacortes is, my view of Anacortes is this beautiful, gorgeous marine community with gorgeous views and hillsides. And I feel like now there's an aging population because the fishing industry is old, and it's a cute, quaint place to retire. But it's also the gateway to the San Juans. In a big harbor, is there harbor big for fishing up there the way ours is here, or different?
No, it's for smaller boats. You
It
can do
is,
like the
okay.
Dungy fishery in Puget Sound, but as far as fishing out of there, you're not going to make a you're going to make a living, but it's not going to be exponential.
But did growing up there contribute to you being interested in marine things?
Oh, well, yeah, you have two choices when you live in Anacortes if you want to make good money, and that's you can either get into the fishing industry or the refinery business. And you as you know, Tesoro's out there. And
Yes, the
and
oil
so
refinery.
I worked there, and then I there's a lot of boat owners that actually live and retire there. So you always kind of grow up.
So did you come to a fork in the road and decide oil or fish, and you
Yeah.
went with fish?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we used to we would fish in the summer to live in Los Angeles and San Diego during the winter. So and skateboard for free, so we didn't have to get like a pizza delivery job or.
And if I understand the fishing industry, it has a unique appeal to the young in that you can, if you're willing to give up 3 months of your life or however it is, and you sign up to go on the boat, you can make a lot of cash compared to your peers who stay home and work at the, dairy freeze or whatever. You can make a lot of cash in a short amount of time, and then you can goof off and lay around for a good part of the year. Is that the potential lure?
Well, that's what it is. You don't when you're on the boat, you're not spending money. You're just
Right,
making money,
right.
and then when you get home, you have this bulk money.
This big pile of cash.
Yeah, and I think
And
that's
so you
where a lot of
immediately
guys get in
contact an
trouble.
investor and you put it in good, secure
Yeah,
funds
that's what
for your
we all
future.
do.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we
And that's why a lot of us are 30 and 40 and still have jobs on deck. you know,
yeah,
it's-
okay.
We want to buy big toys, and
So you, what season did you get on Deadliest Catch?
I think it was season 3 or season 2.5. I can't remember.
But you already knew it was big. You knew it was a big show.
Yeah, my uncle Nick was on it. Was on the Northwestern, and I'd kind of seen a few episodes here and there, and I was in the middle of transitioning into a more sober living, which I then relapsed, which you'll see in the book.
Right. So you were sober, which made you a good candidate to be on the boat.
Well, my uncle Brian, who is he's a captain too. He runs a trawler, and he's like, "Look, Jake, this skateboarding thing it ain't working out."
You were going to be a professional. Tell me about that. You wanted to be a famous pro skateboarder. Is there such a thing?
Yeah. This guy.
You have no idea. It's
That's like
monstrous.
I want to be Sasquatch or the unicorn. I can't
Have
tell
you-
which.
have
Your buddy Steve O hangs
Yeah.
out with him all the time.
Yeah.
Really?
Have you heard of Tony Hawk?
No.
Okay.
But that's because I don't go buy those magazines and I don't skateboard.
Well,
so you can make money
and
at
that's a
it?
perfect
Yeah.
example of living in the Northwest. We grew up, my friend Casey Rigney and I, we grew up here, and it wasn't cool to skateboard. And so when we were about 19, we looked at each other and we said, "Hey, man, let's try to make something out of this, So we picked up a magazine, and we started driving down to San Diego where the skateboarding was, and I went down there and found out I was a lot better than I thought that I was.
You were actually good. You had
Yeah.
aptitude for it.
Yeah, and that's what we did from the morning we woke up to about 2 a.m. We just skate, and I came back. He was working in a refinery, broke my ankle, and I thought I was going to come back in a full recovery, and I had surgery, and that's when I started getting into the opiates and the drinking, and I mentally I never.
So they gave you some
recovered.
pain pills for your recovery, and that led to.
And then I fell in love.
Was it prescription stuff or was it
Yeah.
other opiates that you got into?
No, it was Vicodin mainly, which I think a lot of people don't understand, which I didn't till I was about 28, that I was just taking heroin.
It's
Vicodin,
basically
Oxycontin.
medicinal. It's basically heroin.
It's
yeah.
China White.
Yeah.
It's the cleanest stuff you get, and people don't
You're
know
making
what
it
they're
sound too
getting.
good, by the way.
Yeah.
You got a
I
book
know,
to
so-
sell here.
That's what I did too.
I've had a thing where they gave me a Vicodin for a legitimate tooth problem or something, and I go, I could really like this.
Yeah.
So I've always,
I believe he used the word love.
Yeah.
Well, I could have,
yeah.
but I mean,
You're wrong.
I would remember when this bottle runs out, what am I going to do? Was actually a thought that I had. Like,
Yeah.
well, you'll be done because that's all you got.
and most
So-
people go, "Oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm done." And
Not me.
I
have
wasn't
that,
done.
I have that addict gene too.
Yeah.
So fortunately, thank, nothing's happened yet. So okay, so you get on the boat and you're out there. What made you relapse? Was it the difficulty of being away at sea? Was it all the stress of being on TV? Because they say before you relapse that you make a decision to relapse
Yeah, you start
before you
having
actually do it. Do you
reservations.
believe that?
Yeah, I do. So I had fished Bristol Bay since I was 17. So I'd been fishing for about 11 years, and I fished on a trawler for a year. So at that point, I thought I was a fisherman, And while I got on Northwestern and they had cameras, which I was kind of leery about, we started filming and I saw the first episode that came out of me, and it was like Jake the Greenhorn, new guy, which I was
That's what
green to
TV
the
does.
industry,
They
right?
spin you
Yeah,
into
they do.
some
I
character.
saw
Yeah.
it, and if anybody's ever listened to their voice on the answering machine, it's that times about 1,000. And
You were
I saw
uncomfortable
it-
with your own self.
Yeah, and I saw myself in the mirror, and I just was disgusted.
What did you not like about yourself?
I
You
I
got those
don't
brooding,
know.
dark, good looks?
I don't know what I
It's
saw.
not a
I just
fashion show on
Yeah.
the Deadliest Catch, after all.
No, it's typically not. You're one of the best looking people on that show.
I know, and
Yeah.
they don't like it either.
Yeah.
So.
I'm thinking that's.
I'm
And there's a
saying.
lot of jealousy that goes on around
I'm
there.
trying to be delicate here,
Yeah.
but you know.
Well, don't you
got
think that's
piercing blue eyes,
that's
dude.
partly
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
got the gig? I mean, you
I
knew
think
somebody
so.
on the boat, but they were casting for the TV show. There's plenty of guys that can fish.
Yeah.
I mean, you got
Yeah.
the good-looking eyes, the drama that comes behind that.
I think we can get a pro skateboarder with a broken ankle.
Yeah.
And the potential to relapse.
Yeah.
And by the way, now I have this other theory on TV. They don't mind if you relapse.
No, they actually don't.
love it,
The
yes.
more drama, the better. And
Yeah.
the production company will always say they care about you.
They
and
care about
Keep
you.
the
They're-
camera rolling.
Yeah, exactly.
We hit some Vicodin in the
Right.
net.
Yeah.
Okay, try to just throw up again. We
All right.
missed that.
How do you relapse on the boat? Can you tell? Like, where did you find it? Did you have someone get you stuff? Did you smuggle it aboard? Because I think on a boat, it's hard to find a dealer.
Well, I always remain clean on the boat. But
Okay.
You do have a med chest on board, but if you started taking the pain medication, the morphine drip, and all
you
that,
can't
and then somebody
work.
gets hurt,
Yeah. Oh.
then you could have possibly really,
Okay.
really
There's
injured
a
somebody.
tuna
so-
named Murray. Give him a couple of worms.
Yeah.
All right. So
You
you,
don't
come
wanna do that.
home and you go back into your addiction. Now, this sets up the next season. You're not going to be fit to be on the show, right?
Well,
Tell me what happened.
As fishermen, we've always, a lot of us, especially crabbers in general, there's a lot of alcoholism and drug addiction in that industry. It's less now because it's getting more regulated, but that's what it was in the 70s and the 80s. It was real, cocaine was real rampant. And so being a drug addict and an alcoholic on a crab boat was just normal.
Okay.
So you just,
And
as
that
long
makes
as
you
could
another
make it
unique.
to the boat,
Last
you were
year he
good.
was the greenhorn. This year he's the addict struggling to control his addiction.
Yeah,
The
and,
TV
and I
doesn't
kept
care.
that pretty quiet. You know, what a lot of people don't know is what they saw was somebody withdrawing from drugs when they would. I would get to the boat and I wouldn't bring anything with me.
So how do they play it on TV then?
Well, they never saw it.
Okay.
They never saw
You had
it.
to
And,
cover
and
it
this is actually, the book is actually the first time that it's actually said that I even did drugs. I
Wow.
mean, most people don't even know. They kind of had an inkling that I was an alcoholic, and because that was my personal business. But then I thought about writing the book, and it just seemed like the right thing to do. And
Will it be dealt with in this season that you just finished, that you just came back from?
no, I won't talk about it on
So
the show
you're
because I
keeping
don't
it-
want them to take
So
it out
you've
of
written
context.
the book as a
context.
personal thing for people who want to read and hear
Yeah,
your
so
story.
it's my words,
That's
and I
cool.
don't have to worry about an editor.
You're not going to open up a chain
Mixing-
of Deadliest Cash treatment
Yeah,
centers or anything
exactly.
like that.
Yeah, no,
It's not your fault.
I am hardly a saint. I am pretty.
Although that's
I
a
am pretty
That's
far
not a bad
from being
idea.
a saint. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a long way to go if I'm going to do something like that.
You could treat everything, call it the Deadliest Crutch.
Yeah.
Whatever your crutch is,
Yeah.
it'll help you get over
I got the
good.
Keeley cure, and what's that? The Chick Shadell. Yeah, that's what I'm going to be.
Cool. And now I wanted to ask about your job because I was curious, who's more important, the deck boss or the captain? And I know you have to say captain, but doesn't the deck boss do more work?
Well, the guy on deck, the engineer, is usually the deck boss.
Okay.
Or
And that's you,
or
right?
bosun. Well, it depends on who's there.
Okay.
See, I work with 3 owners, so I even though Edgar's the deck boss or Sig's the captain, and I have Norman there too, all 3 of them can do what they can all do the same thing. So I answer to 3 people. So sometimes I'm looking at Sig and he's got an order, but then I got Edgar who's also has the order but in a different way, and so I have to pick apart which way I'm going to do that, and it's always wrong because one guy's going to get
So
offended.
you have to be diplomatic
Exactly.
and carry out their wishes, but you're the one who's leading the people under you, right?
Yeah, if I'm in charge of the deck or I'm in charge of the engine room, your job is to choreograph what everybody's doing.
Got it. And that sounds like it would be very challenging when there's rough seas.
And everybody's older than you. I'm the youngest guy on the boat, so you got guys that have been fishing twice as long as me that don't want to listen to somebody younger than them, and that's the biggest problem I
These
run
can be
into.
life or death decisions you're making too. I mean, you get orders. I know everybody's got safety first, but that's a dangerous place to work.
And I think the biggest part for me is if I'm not watching, because the other guys are going to be watching what crabs on the table. You know, did that pot get tied down? And the things that I'm looking for is do we have slack water in the tank? I don't know if you know what that is, or is a piece of machinery going to fall out of the sky? Slack tank is when you're constantly filling your tanks up with water, or you're constantly sucking them dry. You always have a pump running on them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes you'll get an airlock or something will happen and your tank will fill halfway. Well, what it does is when the boat rolls, then that water hits
uneven,
the bulkhead. Yeah, and it'll either break bulkheads or flip you over, and that's what's happened a lot in the past.
All right. It's 10th season we're in now, Tuesdays at 9. No one, I think, thought this show would be a decade.
No.
And it'll keep going, won't it?
It sounds like it's going to keep going for at least another year, probably 2. That's the weirdest thing is that's the magic that the editors have done, and all the crews and the captains have done together to make that happen. Crab fishing is pretty easy to just take a camera out there and make something happen, but the editors and the people, the talent in the show have actually done a wonderful job on keeping it going, because
they tell the story every season, and it's a different story. Is there, you and your wife, is it Jen?
Jenna, yeah.
Jenna, very happy. You're sober. You're living in Seattle. Is that right?
Yeah.
You live right here. And is there a life after fishing for you, or is fishing your whole life?
I try my hardest not to.
Is it like
make
the mafia?
fishing.
It's hard to get out?
It is impossible to get out. I mean, I don't have to worry about, dying if I leave, but getting out is next to impossible. I'm trying to get into other industries because I want to run boats.
And can you get rich off of this show? You don't get rich, right?
No, it's not like
open
a
that
sitcom.
chain of addiction centers.
Yeah, I know. I'm taking donations now if you want.
All right, Jake Anderson, the fishing vessel Northwestern, the Deadliest Catch, Tuesdays at 9 o'clock. And if you know someone, say, who loves the show, who might like this book, that we'll put up a link to it at bobrivers.com.
Before we let you go, there's a texter who's just texted in 15 times the same thing, and I don't know why he wants to know, but I'm going to honor him by asking you how Jake Harris is doing.
A lot of people ask that, especially because he's not on the show anymore. But I'd have to say he's doing all right. He's living in Monroe, but he's pretty secluded. He doesn't talk to too many people, and I'd have to let Jake answer that question.
Have his private life.
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that for him, but I'll just tell him that he's doing good.
Cool.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Jake. Very nice to meet you. All the best of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck with the season and everything in the future. When we come back,